Good evening from the Carolina Weather Group Control Center in Charlotte. I'm James Brierton with continuing coverage of our coastal snowstorm. Coming up in the next few minutes, a recap of what took place today in South Carolina, accumulating snow and ice in some places, and now the storm is heading towards North Carolina, where winter storm warnings and a few blizzard warnings remain in effect. We'll break those down for you. And then coming up at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, our scheduled Wednesday night show talking about space weather and everything that goes into preparing for so many of those amazing launches you see. That'll be coming up at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. But first, our special snow coverage continues at this hour. We have several reports on the snow, the ice, and the freezing cold temperatures. We begin with Shay Gibson in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay, winter storm 2018, January the 3rd. Here we are. We got about 4.5, almost 5 inches of snow in Wando, South Carolina, and we're all having a good time. What you think, Merrick? Pretty cool, huh?
This is Jared Smith at CHSWX on Twitter for the Carolina Weather Group, Charleston, South Carolina, and folks, it's snowing. Snowing hard. We've had about an inch of snow here in West Ashley just in the last hour. Started with a good bit of freezing rain. Accretions, getting a tenth of an inch, 2/10 of an inch or so, and then now switching to snow, blowing snow, lots of snow, big flakes, good dendritic growth. Behind me here, this is the Autumn Chase neighborhood in Great Oaks Plantation in West Ashley. And you can see quite a bit. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen. We haven't seen snow like this in. Last time we had a measurable snow was 2010, but I think that this is going to evoke more memories of 1989, when the Charleston area had its only white Christmas. Weather Service is expecting accumulations of 2 to 3 inches. We may get a little bit more than that. The storm is doing a really nice job. Big flakes here, good ratios. Should be interesting to see what the snow ratios end up being. It's cold. It's icky, but everyone's having a lot of fun staying off the roads, I hope. Should be enough here for a snowball fight here fairly soon. Sorry, Scotty. I wish we could do more than this for you. But anyway, folks, that's going to do it for now. Jared Smith reporting for the Carolina Weather Group live in Charleston, South Carolina. Have a good afternoon.
But it wasn't just Charleston that saw snow. We had winter storm warnings stretching as far south as some areas in Florida, and that also includes coastal Georgia. Tim Pounds is a friend of our show. He's a contributor. He watches frequently, and he sent us this video from just outside the Savannah, Georgia area to let us know what things are like in his neck of the woods.
Hi James, hi Carolina Weather Group. My name's Tim Pounds. I'm from Jessup, Georgia. That's about 45 minutes outside of Brunswick, Georgia, and an hour outside of Savannah, Georgia, here in the rural part of coastal Georgia. So just wanted to give you guys a quick update from down here in a place that never usually sees snow. Let's see, let's look at the backyard table here and see about how much we've gotten here in the past couple hours. So we're probably at about a knuckles length. That's about an inch, inch and a half. You like my old rural Georgia measurement system there. And if you want to take a look at the edge of the house here, you can tell that it was also a lot of freezing rain and sleet before the system completely moved through. I would say, in the middle of the night, it started out with rain, freezing rain, sleet, and by about 11 a.m. turned over into snow, and snowed for probably, I'd say, about a good 3 or 4 hours. It was real interesting watching how this system worked. It dumped a lot of snow in our area, but kind of north of us in the central part of Georgia, Macon, Augusta, Atlanta areas didn't see a whole lot of snow, if any. So it was interesting to get this kind of appearance out here in coastal Georgia. So that's my update here. Thanks for having me on, guys, and y'all have a great evening.
And Tim is absolutely right. Different parts of the state saw different things. You could be in the same town and not have gotten the same experience as somebody else, especially if you live along the coast. If you're watching live with us on Carolina Weather Group, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube earlier today, you know that when we were watching US 17 for a good part of the morning, the change from sleet to snow happened a little bit later there. They had some warm air mixing in, especially along that coastal area, but even if we just went a few miles inland towards Somerville, we already had a change over to snow much earlier. That's why they're seeing those higher accumulations. But let's talk about those accumulations not only along the coast, but even inland towards the Interstate 95 corridor. That's where a bulk of the snow was recorded today in both South Carolina and now heading into North Carolina. So let's look at some of those figures here. as we look at video that was captured across the area as well too. These numbers are preliminary, I should mention. As of the 4 o'clock Eastern hour, we're expecting these numbers to go up and to get more as the night goes on. But starting with some numbers in South Carolina, of Bluffton coming in at 4 inches along with Nightville. In the Charleston area, where we just saw reports from Jared and from Shea, about 3 inches there, as well as on James Island. If we look at Goose Creek, they had about 2.5 inches of snow and counting. Again, a lot of these numbers are preliminary, especially when we look at numbers like Somerville, which came in at 2 inches, but I would expect that number would be higher than what we saw in Charleston. So we'll continue to see these numbers updating throughout the night and as we look ahead to tomorrow. We also had some ice accumulation reported across certain areas. In Charleston, about 20th of an inch, along with on James Island and even in places like Mount Pleasant, reporting some figures there too. We saw a report not too long ago from our friend Tim Pounds. We even have some Georgia numbers we can share with you. Near the Savannah area in Pooler, about 3 inches, and that's not too terribly far from where we got our report from Tim Pounds. So we appreciate that report from Tim too. Again, we are watching at this hour as the storm makes its way north. This low pressure is going to continue to hug the coastline, and for those of you living closest to the coastline, you can expect to see higher winds. That's why if you live in places like Elizabeth City, in northeastern North Carolina, or even if you're watching us tonight from southeast Virginia, we have blizzard warnings up there, because the closer you are to this low, the more wind you're going to get. And one of the key distinguishing facts about a blizzard warning doesn't always mean you're going to get more accumulation, but what you are going to see is less visibility, because the snow that does fall is going to be blown around by that wind, and that's why we have those blizzard warnings in effect, as opposed to the winter storm warnings that we see in so many other North Carolina counties at this hour. Let's take a look at how much snow we are expecting from the National Weather Service forecast offices along the North Carolina coast and Interstate 95 corridor. We do have some new numbers in, so let's go ahead and take a look at those. Working our way from north to south, where we are expecting the highest of the accumulations, and again seeing some of those blizzard warnings here as we look towards Elizabeth City, about 8 inches of snow by the time this is all said and done. One of the common trends you'll notice with this forecast, just like we saw in South Carolina, we're going to expect to see less snow as you make your way further inland. So as you make your way from the coast towards an Interstate 95 corridor, you can expect to see some of those numbers work their way on down. Hugging the coast and looking at the National Weather Service forecast figures from Morehead City, you can still see an area, that band of about 6 inches of snow that we're expecting in Elizabeth City, continues southward towards Plymouth and Columbia. And then even the Outer Banks are going to get in on the action. Again, not as much snow accumulation expected along the Outer Banks, closer to about 2 inches or so, because as we mentioned earlier, they're going to get a little bit of that warmer air, more sleet and less snow. But we are going to have plenty of snow in places like Greenville and Washington and New Bern, coming in at an expected about 5 inches by the time this storm is all said and done, about 4 in Jacksonville. Let's work our way inland a little bit and make our way towards Raleigh, where along that Interstate 95 corridor, we can still expect to see an inch or two of snow accumulating by the time we work our way through the evening hours into tomorrow morning. So if you are living in this area or looking to travel along the interstate, you can expect to see about 3 inches there in Roanoke Rapids and Nashville, Wilson, and then a little less as you make your way south towards Fayetteville and Fort Bragg at about 2 inches or so. Back towards the coast, and these from the Wilmington office of the National Weather Service, you can see about 3 inches of snow expected in Wilmington, 4 in Whiteville, and another 3 inches or so in Elizabethtown. You can even see some of the overlapping numbers there from what we're expecting to see by the time this storm begins to move on out from places like Myrtle Beach, 4 inches of snow as well too. So by the time everything is said and done, if you do live along that coastal area, we are expecting several inches of measurable snow and even some ice accumulation in there. But let's talk about folks not living along the coast. I'm in Charlotte. So many of you are watching maybe from upstate South Carolina or other portions of the southeast. It is freezing. You absolutely know about these cold temperatures that we've been experiencing here in the Carolinas and across much of the continental United States, and we don't want to leave anyone out. And we're going to make our way now up into the foothills, where Carolina Weather Group panelist Scotty Powell filed this report.
Hey everyone, Scotty Powell here in Morganton, North Carolina. Not getting the snow that everyone's getting down at the coastal areas, but we still have a lot of clouds from the western periphery of this storm. It's given us cloudy conditions. Day number 4 of us being below freezing. Temperature right now about 28, 29 degrees here in the early afternoon hours. I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see we're pretty iced up over here, and I can actually put my boot on the ice, and it's pretty thick. So again, no winter weather here in the western Carolinas. That's all down at the coastal areas, but some cold temperatures, cloudy conditions. We may see a few flurries or stray snow showers in the Charlotte area, but nothing west of that. So that's the report here from Morganton. I'm Scotty Powell for the Carolina Weather Group.
And frozen fountains and water pipes, pictures all across the eastern seaboard in much of the United States. This coastal storm will continue for North Carolina tonight before making its way into the northeast, where there are more winter storm warnings, blizzard warnings, and the like up along the entire eastern seaboard. Portions like Long Island, my native hometown area, could see upwards of a foot of snow by the time this storm is all said and done. Continue to follow the Carolina Weather Group on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for continuing coverage of the coastal storm. We're going to have even more on this coming up in just a few moments when we're joined by the rest of the panel for tonight's scheduled show, and we will continue to stream real-time temperatures and warnings alongside the screens so that we can continue to keep you updated through the night. And then stay with us, like us, subscribe us, so that you can be alerted to all of our live coverage. But for now, I'm James Brierton in Charlotte.